Welcome back to A Hopeful Holler Makes podcast. I am coming to you from Walker Farm, Camp Walker, Walker Wool. We're calling it lots of things right now. um, wow, it feels like it's been a while. I guess it has been a little bit longer than 2 weeks, and I can see that that is not a good habit to get into. I feel like many other podcasters say that you I when I get in the rhythm and do this every couple of weeks, it begins to feel comfortable. I feel like we're just sitting around a big table knitting together, and I just happen to be the one chatting for almost 30 minutes, which, dear Lord, let's just hope that never happens. So anyhow, if you are new to A Hopeful Holler Makes podcast, welcome back. If you're new, welcome back. It is bright and early this morning. It's about 7:30. If you're new, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Thank you for spending a few minutes here with me while I show you some of the things I've been working on. Hopefully, give you some things to noodle on. Maybe they're things you've heard other people talk about before. Maybe they're things you've never thought of. Maybe they're completely new thoughts. So my dog Sadie Grace, who in the last episode took the show away herself. She's down here at my feet, and every now and then the camera may move just a tad, and that is her shaking it up a little bit. So my sweet friends, the Walkers, who own this lovely place and own the 20 sheep who live here, they have 3 big dogs, 2 German Shepherds and a Great Dane, and they are Sadie's pack. So they love to play together, but right now they're all in the house so that we can record, and so that Sadie and I can record, so that I can record and have a little bit of a more quiet atmosphere for you fine folks who are joining us. So let's just get right to it, shall we? So last night was knit night with my girls from at Juju Knits, and you can find them on Instagram and Facebook. And we had such a lovely time knitting together, spinning together, and just chatting about all sorts of things. Weaving, that's something I'm really interested in, tapestry weaving right now. I have a little loom. I did not bring it. I will bring it for the next podcast. But I'm really intrigued and invigorated, if you will, with the concept of tapestry weaving. So I am a spinner. I spin a lot. I spin every morning. It's just a habit I've gotten into while I listen to motivational podcasts or audiobooks, things like that. I have my spinning. Sometimes I'll knit, but most often I will spin. And so I have all of this hand spun yarn, and I'm really not at the point where I want to sell my hand spun yarn, though that might be something that I do in the future. At this point, I just have quite a collection of hand spun, and I'd really like to start using it and seeing the full life of my hand spun yarn, because it's just magical to me. There is something about the rhythm. I love a dirty, greasy fleece. I just love taking it straight from the bag and making yarn with it. And I know that's not everybody's shtick. They don't love to do that, but it is something that I enjoy so much. I love seeing the full process straight off the sheep into a garment or some sort of wearable item. So the concept of something that is actually not functional and just pretty to look at, I use those quotation fingers because I've always really appreciated functional beauty. So like pottery, a hand towel, things like that have always kind of got me going a little bit more so than a painting. So several years ago, not that I don't love paintings and seeing what other people do, it's just not been my particular medium, but a few years ago I really got into drawing, and I never considered myself someone who could draw, but I really dove deep into this idea that we can learn anything we really put our minds to and we want to learn. And so Danny Gregory has a lot of books, and he also has such sketchbook school, which I did an online, actually I think I did 2 online courses of sketchbook school, and really just dove in deep and drew lots of things. I actually drew a picture of my mother. She wasn't well at the time, and she was laying on the couch, and I drew a picture of her and her medicine bottles and just all of the things that surrounded her, and that was deeply therapeutic for me, in a way that knitting and spinning is a little bit different. And so I really enjoy going back and looking at those journals. So with tapestry weaving, my thought process is I could do the same thing. I could take my hand spun yarn and I could make tapestries. So I don't know how large I'm gonna get with this, but I've been really intrigued with these little tiny, I'm not sure, they're just a couple of inches by a couple of inches, tapestries on these little tiny looms. So you could Google tiny looms and see some of the things that folks are doing, and specifically one lady, and I'm sorry I didn't write down her name, I will get back to you, or maybe I'll do a post on Instagram, and that's what I'll do. I'll share one of her Instagram posts so that way you can see how adorable they are. They're so cute. So I plan to do that with some of my hand spun. So let's segue into hand spun. Last night at knit night, that's what I had. I had my hand spinning with me, which was with a bat from Butterfly Girls, and I didn't bring that today. I did bring some finished yarn that I've spun. So anybody who's familiar with Spin Cycle will know, or maybe think, this looks a lot like Spin Cycle yarn. I think it does. So I spun this from a braid that I got at Texas Fiber Fest, DFW Fiber Fest, sorry about that, a few years ago, and I just love the way it looks. So I think probably what I'll do is look for a pattern that uses Spin Cycle. If anybody has any suggestions on what they would do with it, I would love to hear your suggestions. So that is a braid that is hand spun, and I remember making a conscious effort with this braid to pay attention to my plying. It's probably one of the most balanced yarns that I've ever spun. And it's not something that I really always pay attention to, balance per se. So I don't count my treadles and all of those things. I think I've mentioned before, I do most everything just by how it feels. And I know it's not everybody's shtick, but you shtick a lot already this morning. I don't know why. And this is another hand spun. These are singles that I spun up, and I don't even recall where I purchased this roving. Maybe Kidden U, at a Kidden U festival here in Texas. And I have one more. This is Fabulous Fibers. I believe I purchased this at West 7th Wool here in Fort Worth, Texas. They usually have a lot of lovely Fabulous fibers. So that's a super fun one. I'll probably use that one for a weaving project. And actually, this isn't all of that braid. And I think I've actually lost the rest of the braid. I don't know what I did with it. Who knows? Do y'all ever lose your fibery goodness in the mounds of other fibery goodness? I try to stay pretty organized, but every now and then a ball falls, if you know what I mean. So this week, with my intentions to use my hand spun, there's Sadie, she says hi. And with the recognition of if my dog doesn't walk 6 miles every day, she chews the walls. So I'm spending a lot of time out there walking these days. And it will, believe it or not, get cold here in Texas. So I worked up some fingerless mitts. And these are 2 different gauges. You may or may not be able to tell. I don't really care for this. I was really going for a utilitarian, but I do love how rustic looking they are. This one's a little bit thicker. This one's a little bit thinner. And it was just some Shetland wool that I had spun up laying around, just waiting to be something. So as you can see, I still need to add the thumbs. I was telling somebody at knit night last night, for some reason thumbs on mitts, for me, I haven't done the ends yet, woven in the ends. For some reason, thumbs on mittens are kind of like the Kitchener stitch at the end of a toe. I don't dig it. So sometimes I just have to really work myself up and put on a good podcast or audiobook or some music and get after it, because they're little, but for some reason they aren't my favorite part to do. So I look forward to the temps dropping in another month or so, month and a half, 2 months. These are nice and cozy. They still have a touch of lanolin in them because, as I said, I like to take the fleece, dirty, spin it up, and then whatever I make still has that soft feel. It's not super greasy. I did wash it in some Dawn detergent. So I have that. That's a finished, well, almost finished object. And for years and years, I thought, because I love to garden and I have chickens, and my lifestyle is not the type in my head that I would think that I could have fun fake nails. But I enjoy fun fake nails. It's part of my self-acceptance at this point in my life. And so that little treat, I don't dye my hair or anything like that. My workout fees are coming and working out with my buddy. And now my yarn even is coming from fleece. So it's just a fun little treat that I've been doing. My point in all this is saying the sweet, sweet nail lady, her name is Christy. She is the sweetest, most tender little spirit. She already has a little boy. I believe he's about 5 years old, and she is about to deliver her second child, and it's a baby girl. And so we were all super excited for that to happen. So I'm making her a little hat. Now, I don't know if you can see the ribbing on that or not, and the sparkle, but this is a fingering weight and mohair held together. Oh, and it's just a super, super light pink. It seems to be blown out a little bit, but let's see if I hold it up close and still. It's just so, so sweet. So I'm at the point of decreasing right now. And this is the teddy bear pattern on Ravelry. So it will have little ears, and I'll show it to you. I'll give it to her right after the next podcast. So I'm super happy about that. I think that she will love it. She is such an appreciative, big-hearted, sweet, hardworking lady. Man, she's hardworking. So I really appreciate everything that she does for me. I especially love just who she is. She's a kind, kind lady. So that is that. Where are we on time? Hi, y'all. I'm up close and personal. So I came home from knit night last night, said hello to my husband, looked at my recliner, and saw there was a box for me. And I knew that I didn't order anything from anybody, anywhere. So I went over to it and I opened it up and I cried. Look at this. This, you may not, well, you don't know. This is the most magical scarf in the land. And a hopeful holler makes land. So if it weren't gonna be, what, 105 degrees today, I would be rocking this like that. Okay, what's really amazing is I would never, on my own, I would never choose these colors because I wouldn't immediately think that they look good on me or whatever. Let me tell you the story behind this amazing little scarf. So my best friend has several daughters, but one of which decided she was going to knit a scarf with 2 mechanical pencils. And this was the lovely scarf that came off those 2 mechanical pencils. So this is just an encouragement. If you've ever had the thought, I can't do blah, 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 let this little 13-year-old girl school ya. She did me. Man, the inspiration and the fortitude, just all of the good, fun things that we need in life, I feel like this scarf represents. And I cannot wait to wear it. So Catherine, my friend, if you are watching, kudos, you rock. 13 years old, and she sent it to me. What was especially wonderful was when she first started it, I of course had no idea that it was gonna be for me. I don't even know if she knew. Excuse me, hold on. She's friendly! Thank you. Sadie was talking to their pool man. And so, anyway, when she started it, she was sitting in the back of the van, and my best friend took a little video, and she was knitting, and she said, I want to be just like Miss Holler. That made me cry, first of all, and then to receive it in the mail, to influence, to be able to have some kind of an influence for good on a child has always been something near and dear to my heart. And so it just makes me all mushy inside, as you can imagine. I bet y'all are that way too. That's just the way us knitters are. So let's see, what else do I have? I don't have any other projects to show you. So my deep thoughts are about influence and about how we as humans might say no to things that might actually be really amazing and great for us. So I'll use myself as a bad example. Sadie Grace, my sweet Sadie Grace dog, she has been one of the most wonderful blessings in my life. We are empty nesters, and we are making the very most of this experience. And at the same time, we have one child. I absolutely adored being a mom. I'm still a mom, but you know, having a child at home and just all that goes with that. I loved everything about it, even the really challenging times, which our teen years were challenging. And I'd like to talk more about that in the future because my daughter has given me permission to talk about a few things. But coming back to the joy of having Sadie during this empty nesting time Our daughter moved out last August, and she's doing well. Some folks have asked, so thank you so much for asking. But having Sadie Grace and getting me out of the house every day to walk 6 miles. This is no humble brag. I would not choose to walk 6 miles every day on my own. So this is the truth of ignorance, I guess. I had no idea, first of all, that she was a Whippet mix. I believe that her foster parents didn't know that either, because when I asked, they said Pit Bull Lab mix, which both of those personality types, I'm all in. I love both. So, Whippet, first of all, I had no idea what a Whippet was. Y'all can certainly Google, but they are related to the Greyhound, okay? So these dogs are fast and they are high energy. And as I said, if we don't walk and she doesn't play hard, 6 miles. 6 miles is what I figured out is her sweet spot. She will chew my walls and my wool, and we'll be miserable. And that's just not going to happen. That's not why I got a dog. I got a dog to really be my companion, my happy-go-lucky companion, as Cesar Millan would say. I've been watching a lot of Cesar Millan recently. I feel like his episodes, most recently especially, have had a great amount of value for me as a human and for my dog. And so, anyway, I would have said no. If I had known, I would have said no. And she is one of the greatest joys in my life right now. And I'm sure she'll continue to be that. So I just want these deep thoughts to encourage you. I mean, you can't know what you don't know, but, you know, on things that may scare you a little bit to say yes to. It just might be the thing that changes your world in such a blessed way. So I encourage you to say yes to whatever that thing might be in your life that you're contemplating and maybe a little fearful of. So I know that some folks have asked about my chickens. I mentioned at the very beginning when I first started recording my podcast, and I forget to do so, that, to mention that I have chickens as well. And I had 7 chickens, and now I sadly have 6 chickens. So I had 2 silky chickens, and silkies are not known for their tolerance of the heat. And our temperatures here in Texas have been around 101, 102 for the last couple of weeks. And I had brought her indoors, put cold compresses under her wings, kept her nice and cool, not under a direct fan, but cold washcloths, and cooled her down. Kept her in overnight underneath a clothes basket. And then when she seemed to perk up after a little bit, I would put her outside, and she seemed to be doing well. And we did that a couple of times during all of the heat. And then one day I went in, and she wasn't well at all. She had passed. So goodbye, Luna. She was dearly loved, and she was such a beautiful, happy, white, silky chicken. So there is that, and I only share that because I know some people like to know these things, and I appreciate you asking and wondering about my sweet chickens. And so I'll put that in deep thoughts as well. As far as songs and as far as Blue October news, The Violinist, if y'all have listened to Blue October, you'll know that they have a violinist. His name is Ryan, and he and some of the other band members are doing something a little bit different. And they have a show that we went and saw last Wednesday, and it was amazing. It's called The Meeting Place. And you can Google, or you can go to my Instagram in my stories and see some of Ryan's some of Ryan's music. It's just otherworldly. I call it heaven on earth. It just takes me to another place. as does all Blue October music. But just violin music by itself is just incredible. Even though he wasn't by himself, it was highlighted. I'll put it like that. So I recommend that. And I believe, in light of Luna and having Sadie Grace, I want to recommend I Hope You're Happy. I think I may already have done that on my podcast, but the song by Blue October called I Hope You're Happy, I will recommend that. So let me see how much time I have. I have 25 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to chat just a minute. I like for people to tell their own stories. Justin, the lead singer of Blue October, has been very open about this story. He has an entire album called Any Man in America, which is actually one of my favorites, or all one of my favorites. But that one especially because I believe that the human condition has two sides. I know I do. And I know that for myself I have to recognize that dark side, and I have to work with it and not allow it to rule my life, but to see it, to witness it, and to allow it to motivate me to be a better person, and to not allow that dark side to rule, to not feed the wolf, so to speak. So, Any Man in America is all about how he felt as he was going through a situation with his ex-wife and his precious daughter, Blue. And so, I'll leave that there and let you dive in and understand exactly what was going on with him and his family at that time. If you're interested, I was, obviously. And I would just have happy news that Sweet Blue is now 13 years old, and she is living with Justin and his beautiful wife Sarah and their amazing daughter Sadie and sweet son Gunnar. And that just makes my heart so happy. This man has lived his life in the best way he can for the last 7 years to deserve this sort of relationship with his daughter. And not all men or women are out there living their lives in such a way to deserve a relationship with their children. So that inspires me, and it just makes me happy to know, and I know that there are not famous people out there doing this too, but I just happen to love Blue October, and I like to share their message, and I like to share their hope, because it's the same hope and the same message that I have with my life as well. That recovery and looking at your stuff, I'll keep it PG rated, works. And we all got it. We have all got stuff. And that to me is very comforting, to know I can look into the eyes of another and know that we are all in the same boat together. So anyway, on that note, listen to I Hope You're Happy today. The sun is coming up, as I'm sure you can see, just quite over the horizon. So it's time for Miss Maria and I to go work out. And remember, everything is better with wool and a podcast. And might I add, a dog. Y'all have a great day. Have a wonderful next couple of weeks. And I hope it's super joyful for you. Bye.